motherfucker. Welcome back to the 8th episode of Bloopers Brigade. I'm joined by my co-host, as always, Jake Gordon at Can't Guard Jake on Twitter. This is now home of the back-to-back NL East champions. We missed last week, but we clinched, as I think we both expected. Jake, how you feeling right now?
It's great. We were there. Got to watch the celebration on the field. Got to be there for the clinch. Just an absolute domination of the Phillies. Swept them out of town. They knew they were done for, and they just rolled over and let us rub their belly. I couldn't really expect any less.
Yeah, I mean, I was there, but speak for yourself about watching the celebration. I was blackout at PBR by the time that was happening. No, I'm just kidding. I did watch the end of the game, but yeah, I did stumble my way to PBR at some point, and then I don't know how I got home. But hey, that's what happens when you win another division champions. And I'm feeling great. I've kind of been talking crap. I've been talking big of the Braves. I knew we were going to come back and win this division. I think I said it back in August. We would win this division by 5 games. I think we won it by 5.5 or 6. Completely dominated. This is our division. I don't care if we were trailing by 5 games, 6 games. And hey, man, you should have closed us out when you had the chance. This division should have been run away with by the Mets or the Phillies, while the Braves were, drowning, and all the stuff that happened throughout this series. But, credit to Brian Snitker for keeping this team together. I mean, I know we both complained about him, but he's done a good job. At least as a regular season manager, we always know, he's a good manager in that regard. But he's going to be judged a little differently this postseason. He's got to make some decisions. But Mets, Phillies, we can let off a good laugh because they just can't do it, man. They just can't figure it out. And I think, if they can't do it this year with everything that happened, when are they going to be able to do it? I mean, it's starting to feel like, if we retain Freddie Freeman, this could be another, dare I say it, 14 in a row. I mean, I don't think that's crazy with the core that we have if we retain Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to be a big topic until at least the offseason. I was kind of wondering if we would get an extension over these couple off days. Saw a couple guys get extended like Colorado and such, and it just didn't happen. But hey, it's okay.
Yeah, and before we get into all the stuff that happened and the NLDS, obviously, we can talk about, we have 3 fan bases in particular that aren't exactly fond with us right now. We got the Phillies. I mean, I think we mocked them for about 3 straight days, and then maybe a week after. Mets are just pathetic. And then now we got Yankees fans mad because I told them after they beat them, they would be eliminated in a 1-game playoff. And what happened, Jake? What happened last night?
I hang on. I have to check. Let me check real quick. It looks like they got eliminated in a 1-game playoff.
Oh, it's crazy. Is that exactly what we said?
Yeah. I mean, they were real upset with that. That was your take. I'll let you take property of that. They were really upset about that one. And, it's just tough. They were all in the replies talking about, oh, the Braves aren't even going to make the playoffs. The Braves are the 4th best team in their division. Well, where you are now, sitting at home and by your biggest rival. That's tough.
Oh, could you imagine if that happened, getting sent home by the Mets? I would be throwing things onto the field.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And shout out to my boy Frankie. Makes a bet with me. He said, what was it? Who would go longer in the playoffs? So now Frankie, a big Yankees fan, will be rocking a Freddie Freeman picture in his profile picture, and he will not only have to do that, he will have to actively cheer on Twitter for the Braves every game. So now we have a new member of Braves country, and I'm actually happy he's here because he's been a good sport about it. I think the reason I tweeted that out about the Yankees is, one, I didn't think the Yankees were particularly good, but I was at both those games, and man, you forget how damn annoying their fans are. I mean, they are talking about 26 championships as if they've been winning all these years. They haven't won since 2008. Half their fan base doesn't even know what a championship feels like. So, I mean, it's just funny. They're annoying as hell. They're New Yorkers. And you forget how annoying they are until they're in your stadium and they're winning on top of that.
It's been a tough year for New York. The Mets, the Knicks, the Yankees. You really just hate to see it. I mean, that's all I can say.
And Trae Young is still
the Giants.
And we got the Jets coming up.
Oh man, we might have New York in hell after next week, but I'm not too hopeful for that. But
we might go 2-15 this year with 2 wins against New York, and that will be some sort of solace because at least I can look at them at the end of the year and be like, we couldn't beat anybody, but we beat you guys twice.
And everything.
Yeah, I mean, we do. Yeah, and then obviously Trae Young is still the king of New York. But one of the biggest things that happened after we clinched the division, Spencer Strider makes his debut. I was calling for it. I sent that tweet out where I was like, all aboard the ship. We're sailing into and I was actually surprised. I didn't think they would do it. I mean, we talked about it on text, but they did it. And he looked pretty damn good. I mean, he gave up that home run to, I think it was Brandon Nimmo, but it wasn't a bad pitch, a slider, coming in on a lefty, and he was able to just turn on it and barrel it. That happens sometimes. He was throwing constant 99, 100. I think every fastball was over 98. And he even got his first win pitching 1.1 scoreless innings in the season finale, I believe it was. So, I mean, is he on the playoff roster?
I would say, yeah. I mean, you remember what Garrett Crochet was doing for the White Sox. It wasn't in the playoffs, but Garrett Crochet, same type of guy. He was drafted. I think he may have actually made it up in the same year because it may have been 2019. Garrett Crochet, though, hard gas, coming in and just being that weapon and coming in and just throwing strikes as hard as he can. I think Strider can do that for the Braves. I think that would be a huge advantage for them. And I mean, if you're talking about, are we going to go with Strider? Are we going to go with Josh Tomlin? I think the answer is pretty simple. You look at Strider and, you talk about getting the kid some experience in the playoffs. Ian Anderson was a little wet behind the ears last year. Put him in the playoffs and he dominated. So I have no bones with putting him on the roster, and I hope he's there.
Yeah, I think so too, just because as bad as this bullpen has been. I mean, and let's start from the top. I did a prediction of the 26-man roster that hasn't come out yet. By the time some of you listen, maybe it will, but we'll go over it anyways. The starting pitchers are going to be Morton, Fried, and Anderson. And I put Yanoa as a starting pitcher, but he could be that like hybrid relief guy. Like we've seen Max Fried have that role in 2018 and 2019. Tuki Toussaint, guys like I think I wouldn't be surprised if in game 1 or 2, especially if Morton or Fried doesn't pitch well, is the guy coming out of the pen.
Yeah, I can't remember who tweeted this. This isn't my property. But the guy, he said like every champion. Excuse me.
That was nice.
He's like every world. Yeah. He said every World Series champion has had some guy. Last year for the Dodgers, it was Urias. And, he listed all the guys before that. They've had that one starter that's come out of the pen. And like you said, we've seen Max Fried do it. I think it's really valuable to have, especially in your back pocket. If you can somehow sweep Milwaukee, I don't know if that's going to happen. But you talk about getting some rest. If he gets put in a spot in the NLCS, if they make it that far, extremely valuable to have.
Well, yeah, I mean, against the Dodgers, against us, we saw Urias start. We saw him come out of the pen. I think that's what we could see from Yanoa. I mean, depending how this series shakes out, but I'm imagining a situation where, if the Braves are, Morton or Fried pitches bad in game 1 or 2, I could see him come in. And if we're up 2-1, I could see him starting game 4 and resting Morton and Fried for that game 5 if you're up 2-1. Now, if you're down 2-1, I think Morton or Fried is going to get a start on, or it's going to have to be Morton because he's starting game 1. I think Morton starts on short rest. But if you're up, I think Yanoa could start that game. But I think we're going to see Yanoa come out of the pen in games 1 or 2. I would almost bet a good bit of money on it.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just something that's nice to have. We're not worrying about, like I said, they pitch well at times. We're not worried about Kyle Wright having to go out there and give us 6 innings. We're not worried about Bryce Wilson having to give us 6 innings. We're not worried about AJ Minter having to open. It's just I think this rotation is definitely in a much better spot, even though they still don't have Mike Soroka. It definitely has a better feeling to the pitching staff at least, but obviously the big loss is going to be Ronald, and they're going to have to overcome that with pitching.
Yeah, and let's keep moving down the roster. I have the catchers. I had just d'Arnaud and Contreras. I kept 2 just because our catcher depth is so bad. I'd be shocked if they brought up Langoliers. And then the other option is Jeff Mathis. I mean, are we really going to keep 3 catchers to keep Jeff Mathis? I just think that's stupid, in my opinion. Infielders. This one's, I mean, obviously you have Freddie, Ozzie, Dansby, and Austin Riley. I put Arcia on the roster because of his versatility, just in case something happens to Dansby or Ozzie, he can play second or short. And then you have, he obviously played for the Brewers for 5 years. So, maybe there's some knowledge there that he can provide the club. I could see him being left off, but when you look at it, I just don't know where else they would go unless they want to carry another bullpen guy, like maybe a Drew Smiley, who I left off. Outfielders, I think these guys are all set in stone. Soler, Peterson, Adrianza, Duvall, Heredia, Rosario. I mean, all those guys you think make it, correct?
Yeah, I don't think they'll carry Pache, even though he was there today. I just don't really see that.
I see that as like a taxi squad move, like in case someone gets injured or, God forbid, catches COVID or something like that. The questions really lie with the bullpen, which I will say.
But before we move on from that, the only guy I could maybe see, and this would be such a surprise because he hasn't been up in forever, would be Johan Camargo. But I mean, you look at Arcia over the past 7 games, he's got an OPS over 700. He's approaching 800. Like, he's been hitting the ball better. I just don't think they would make that move. I saw that today, so I wanted to bring it up. But I don't see Camargo getting
Kamar, I mean, yeah, I mean, Clint did, recapped the AAA Gwinnett season, and he gave Camargo the MVP, who had like a 150 OPS plus. I mean, the guy just rakes in AAA. If he could ever do it in Atlanta, the Braves would. I mean, he has done it once, so
Yeah,
it's kind of sad that the sad thing is he hasn't been able to replicate that. But I mean, he's 28 years old, I think, next season. But I couldn't see them bringing him up now unless there's an injury. Bullpen, I think Smith's your closer, Matzik and Jackson are your setup guys. I wrote an article, and it's these X factors, which are like the Martins, Mentors, Spencer Strider, and I had Yanoa. I think those 4 guys, the Braves are going to need them big and out of the bullpen. Those are some big arms, and if they can catch fire, I mean, I know we talked about it a couple times on this podcast. I think Gary Sheffield mentioned it, but when the Boston won the World Series in like 2018, I mean, that bullpen wasn't a good bullpen. They had a lot of power arms. They caught fire. And, next thing you know, they're dominating everybody. I could see that the Braves have power in this bullpen. And we've seen Mentor, we've seen Chris Martin, and we've seen, Spencer Strider obviously can throw 99, and so can Yanoa. That's power. If these guys can catch fire, the bullpen could be decent.
Eovaldi was one of the names on that list, by the way, that you're talking about with Boston. The guy was talking about this. Yeah, he was one of those guys. And that's honestly kind of a good comparison for Yanoa. And I think Joe Kelly was another name, just guys like that, So, yeah, I think all those guys are definitely locks. I don't know about Strider, but I hope he's a lock.
Yeah, the only guy that Jacob Legg and Richard Rodriguez were on my bullpen list as like desperation options. Like, those guys should only be in there if it's the 3rd inning, you're down 7-0, or, you're crushed. Like, the bullpen's just been working all the time. You don't really have any other options. Those guys really shouldn't be in, which is why I could see Drew Smyly possibly getting one of those spots. I know they traded for Rodriguez, but he just has looked awful, and he can't throw anything but a fastball. And Webb has struggled at the end of the year. So I could see one of those spots going to Smyly.
Yeah, if you made me pick, I would probably say Webb. I don't know. That's tough. He has had problems with super high pressure situations. I don't know. That's tough. I think I would go Webb. But really, you're splitting hairs at that point. Any of those 3 guys, that's your low leverage mop up guy. In case things go really wrong.
I mean, I was talking to Ryan, he does Braves Journal. If any of you guys listening know what that is, give him a follow. And he was talking about how Smyly has been a little bit better in the multiple inning relief role. I think he has like a 1.38 ERA role, and he was really good in that role in San Francisco. So I could see, them rolling with Smyly and, using him in that role, especially if one of these starters isn't doing well. But either way, they're low leverage guys. They're only going to be in there if something, bad happens. And hopefully, honestly, we don't see any 3 of them in the series, because if no 3 of them come up, the Braves probably did pretty well.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. The only other question is that 3 catcher, but I think that's pretty much what you're going to see. I
don't see them using Jeff Mathis. I almost think that's just. I know 3 catchers is kind of traditional, but I just think that's so.
I hate it. I think it's so stupid. I think it's so dumb, personally. I don't understand it. Especially when I don't really see a situation where William Contreras is like needed off the bench. He's probably the last pinch hitter off the bench. So
I mean, like a defensive substitution, like something real convoluted where he has to come in as a defensive sub. But other than that, Darno's going to probably start every game.
Yeah, and I don't know how he would come in as a defensive sub. I mean, he's probably one of the worst defensive catchers in baseball at this point in his career. No offense. I mean, I think he'll be okay, but just from what we've seen this season. So yeah, I don't agree. I know it's traditional. I'm right there with you though. That's why I left just 2 catchers. Once again, I have to say credit to Snicker. I got to give him a little bit of credit for holding this thing together. But let's guess what? He's going to be judged. We all knew he's good at, the keeping teams together through the regular season. At this point, you have this talent of a roster. You're going to be judged on your playoff decisions. Maybe those in-game decisions don't matter as much in, the regular season over such a large sample size, because every manager is going to screw up a little. But when it's a best 3 out of 5, I mean, every decision matters, and he's going to be judged off these, and he hasn't done well in the past. So, I'm going to be critical of it, and everyone should be critical of it, even though he has done a great job getting the Braves to this point.
Yeah, and that's just really what I don't understand. Like everybody's like, "Oh, well, he's won 4 straight division titles." Yeah, I get that. And an
Yeah.
NLCS appearance. Like, I mean, and hey, I gave Snicker a lot of credit last year. I said he coached circles. Those are my exact words. I said he coached circles around David Bell in that Reds series, and he did. I said he did well against the Marlins, but let's be honest, that was the Reds and the Marlins. As soon as it came time with the Dodgers, and he was working with what he had, there were still some questionable decisions. And I'm not going to sit here. Like, I really don't want to play like, oh, what did Brian Snicker do wrong at every turn? But he can't cost this team games like he costed them in the regular season at times. Like you can't be throwing, I mean, just not even thinking off the top of my head, but so like you can't pitch Richard Rodriguez in the 8th in a 1-run game. Like it's just simple stuff like that. Like bullpen decisions have to be near perfect, especially when you're missing Ronald Acuna Jr., you're missing Marcelo Ozuna. The offense isn't going to be what it should have been. And you cannot let bullpen decisions mandate or dictate how this series is going to go.
Yeah, and realistically, he's going to get a pass no matter what happens this October, just for getting the team here. So I mean, he's going to be back. I'm not going to even like start the whole fire Snicker thing. It's just not going to happen.
Nope.
But at the same time, if he screws up again, if he makes multiple bad decisions in the playoffs, like we've seen in the regular season, like we've seen in past postseasons, it's just another strike. And eventually, like if we come into a postseason fully healthy at full strength, and he does it again and we lose because of it, I mean, eventually there's got to be a plug pull. I mean, how many are we going to pull a Bobby Cox here and set up for 1 championship out of, 17 playoff appearances? I mean, is that good? Is that good managing? I don't think it is.
Don Mattingly won nearly 100 games every year, and the Dodgers let him go and got Dave Roberts. And guess what? Dave Roberts has been pretty good. So
yeah, I mean, he's very close to having 2 World Series. I mean, if the Astros don't cheat, he probably does have 2 World Series. So, yeah, I mean, like there's just a certain point where it's like, when is just winning the division enough? And I think when we're fully healthy, that's not going to be enough, because obviously we have the best roster in the NL East. We're going to have Ronald back. We're going to sign some of these guys we traded for. Hopefully we extend Freddie, and it's yeah, I just think there's going to be no more excuses after this year. He'll get a pass no matter what, but I'm still going to judge him off of that, and that's just what we as fans do. Another thing I want to talk about, Braves, they ended the year red hot finally, and they had played games that mattered in September, which hasn't been the case over the last 3 years. Do you think that plays a favor in October, while the Brewers kind of just skated into the postseason, being up like 15 games the whole year, and they didn't play so well in September and October?
Yeah, Brewers 14-12 in September, 0-3 in October, but obviously they had long clinched by then. But you talk about, you talk about being in some type of rhythm, having some type of momentum. There's a reason a bunch of people are betting the Cardinals to beat the 103-win Dodgers, like the 87-win Cardinals or 86-win Cardinals, however many wins they have. They're red hot. I mean, they won 16 games in a row before this. They probably won 20 out of their last 30. That matters. We saw the Rockies go into the playoffs. When was it? 2008, when they went like 27-2 on the way to the World Series before they got swept. But it matters. Like it really matters. And I think it's really nice to see the Braves, like they've been on edge. Like, yeah, they've had a couple days, but I think the fact that they've had to have their back is against the wall, I think that's going to serve their advantage.
Yeah, and we've seen it time and time again. I mean, you talk about the Nationals a few years ago. I think the Cardinals have done it multiple times, where they've gotten hot at the end of the year, won a wild card, gotten in there, won a championship. I think we've seen the Giants do it. So yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about it. I'm actually more excited and more confident about this playoff run for that reason. I think this team's been playing playoff baseball since July, since the trade deadline, and they played really well with pressure against them. They played fantastic against the Phillies when that was basically a playoff series in the regular season. And even when they, didn't have to win against the Mets, they almost swept them. So I'm I'm very confident where this team is. They're one of the hottest teams in baseball. And let's get into these pitching matchups that are going to be absolutely fantastic in this NLDS thing, because I think the Braves have undoubtedly have 3 of the hottest starting pitchers in baseball going in games 1, 2, and 3.
Like literally 2. They're actually sexy.
So
actually, that's a good segue for Just Stop Tweeting. Big shout out to Ring Tour Drew. I guess he's a Bucks fan too. That championship didn't count, by the way.
Oh, no, Mickey Mouse championship.
Yeah, he said Braves fans really trying to say Max Fried, Ian Anderson, and Charlie Morton are better than Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta. LOL. But our buddy Brave Stats said both trios have thrown 2,641 pitches from August 1st to October 3rd, Morton, Fried, and Anderson have made 29 starts, 176 innings, 2.35 ERA, pretty low splits, only giving up a 188 batting average combined, and they're going over 6 innings a game. Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta, 27 starts, 3.28 ERA, about 30 less innings too. 227 batting average, only going about 5.1 innings per game. So they are. I mean, they are. So I like I said, I think they're great pitchers, but to just act like it's so ridiculous that the Braves are just so outmatched starting pitching wise this series, like you just don't know baseball. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Joey Votto said that the Brewers pitching staff was one of the best he'd ever faced, or was the best he'd ever faced, which from a veteran like that'd be like Freddie Freeman saying that about someone on his team. So you have to respect that, and I respect the guys that, the Brewers have thrown out there. But listen, the Braves have won. They've had 2 great performances against Burns and Woodruff this year. They've shelled both of those guys. And Peralta, he's kind of an X factor. He might have the best stuff out of all of them. But listen,
I think he does.
Morton is a playoff legend, and he's pitching as well as he has in his whole career. Max Fried is the best pitcher in baseball since the trade deadline, since August started. He has like a 1.5 ERA, and Ian Anderson has had 2 of his best outings and balled in the playoffs. So I mean, you want to talk about matchups? I mean, is Morton really that much worse than Burns, who has no playoff experience? I think you give the edge to Fried over Woodruff, and Anderson, Peralta are kind of in the same boat to me as young guys with really good stuff. And hey, look, listen, Anderson's been there and he's shown you he can throw a sub-1 ERA when the lights are the brightest. So those 3 guys, I mean, I'm not going to say, oh, the Braves are way better, but if you think the Brewers are way better, I mean, you're just smoking your own peyote.
Yeah, and it's like I said, just the notion that the Braves are just so overmatched with starting pitching. Like, I guess you just haven't been paying attention, but hey, that's fine. You're the one making yourself look ridiculous. I have a bonus. Just stop tweeting. John Nicholson, John Nick, whatever lots of numbers your ad is. You owe Chase a kiss on the ass, and we remember. Everybody remembers. The internet doesn't forget these things.
No, I think he block us. He blocked us.
Yeah, he blocked us. He's a bet Welsher.
What was he? And was he a Braves fan? I think he was a Braves fan.
I think he is. He doesn't sound like much of a Braves fan to me, but.
Oh, I think I tweeted after that. I was like, yeah, and afterwards, go be a Mets fan because you're not a Braves fan. I can tell you that much. I couldn't believe, man. And I'm obviously biased. I think anyone that listens to any of my podcasts can tell I got a little bias in me, but I'm also a little bit, I'm not retarded. Like, I'm not going to say outlandish things. I'm not going to sit here and say the Braves are for sure going to win the championship, but there's some things I know. And the NL East runs through Atlanta, and there is nothing that's going to stop that. I mean, Steve Cohen's not going to stop that. He obviously isn't helping now. The Phillies in there, we can shop in any aisle or whatever the hell they said, or I don't know, that might have been the Braves. We're going to spend stupid money. They can shove that stupid money up their ass because it ain't helping them win. And I mean, Washington, they're the Washington high school team. And what the hell have the Marlins done since they've won the World Series in 2003? Nothing. They haven't made the playoffs. I mean, we're playing.
They made the playoffs last year, but it was a Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, that's the Mickey Mouse playoffs. That doesn't count. I mean, we're talking about me. This is like me going to the water park and like throwing little kids out of line so I can get the first time down the slide. Like, that's what the Braves are doing to the NL East. I mean, it's not even close. So for people to sit here and be like, oh, we're tied with 30 games left. Like, oh, you think I'm scared? No, I'm not scared. We control our own destiny. All we have to do is win these games, and we're 10 times better than them. We've done it for 3 straight years. Why the hell would I be scared? And I don't understand why Braves fans were just crapping themselves. Like, nothing the Mets and Phillies did this year ever scared me. Even when we were down 5 games, they were losing like 10 out of 17.
Yeah, it was just a matter of time. And I wrote about this earlier. You got to give credit to Alex Anthopoulos, especially at this trade deadline. He got the right guys. May not have been a blockbuster move, but he absolutely got the right guys.
Yeah, I mean, that actually brings us to something that I wrote about earlier this week, where it's like Alex Anthopoulos said something after we won the division, where it's like Liberty Media gave me pretty much money to go out there and get whoever we want. Well, go look at what Joey Gallo did. I think he hit like 156 for the Yankees, and they traded some good prospects for him. I mean, we traded like some shitty candy corn from last Halloween, and a dryer machine, and we got 4 of like we got probably the most impactful. Well, not Richard Rodriguez. We probably got Rosario, Soler, and Duvall, probably the 3 most impactful guys that were acquired at the trade deadline. And Jock Peterson saved our season. I mean, Travis Darnold said it. He saved our season because of when we got him. Right after the Acuna injury, it would have been easy to wave the white flag. I think not only did Jock add some pop to the lineup, made you feel more confident going in, but I think it, made the players take a step back, realize the season isn't over. The front office still believes in us. The division is there for the taking, and we can still make something out of the season. I think that move saved the season. Travis Arnaud said it. I said it before he said it. That move saved the season.
Yeah, and I mean, Jock, man, he's out there having fun. Like, he's keeping it loose. And I feel like there wasn't a lot of that at the beginning of the year, especially with the Marcell Ozuna thing. And losing Ronald definitely didn't help, man. After the Ozuna thing, you saw it on this team's faces. Like I said, when they were playing the Yankees that series, and Ronald like when they found out before everybody else knew, like Ronald was going up to bat, and he literally had the bat on his shoulder, watched 3 straight pitches go down the middle, and then walked off. Like, it was clear. Like, it's understandable too. Like, that's their friend, and like something terrible happened, and like that has an impact. That makes a difference. And I'm not saying this is on Brian Snicker at all, but there's no manager on the planet that can rah a team up after that. And it's hard, and it's a long season, and you think, wow, the season just started, we're not playing well, Marcel's might be going to prison, like this is awful. It's easy to get down in the dumps, and then Jock was that guy, kept him loose, provided some juice. He was hitting really well when he first got there, and that kept him afloat.
Yeah, and credit to Guillermo Heredia as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's stupid, the little sword thing, and he hasn't done a ton on the field, especially since the other guys arrived, the trade deadline acquisitions. But I mean, the guy just kept it loose. He's been hilarious watching him after they clinched the division, just yell in Spanish a bunch of stuff that I have no idea what he's doing, and swing his stupid little pink swords. I mean, it's stupid. It shouldn't work, but like
sitting in center field smoking a cigar after that, like that's just smoke him if you got him, man.
It's stupid stuff that like shouldn't make a difference at all, but it just does in baseball because you're playing 162 games, and especially when all the things that happened to the Braves this year, those guys that just kept it loose in the locker room. I even want to give Pablo a little shout out because I think he was one of those guys too. Even though he couldn't hit worth a shit, his little panda hat was funny, and it got the guys loose. It got people going. I know it's different, but that's baseball, dude, and that's the thing that the Braves had over the last 3 years. I don't think they were way more talented than everyone else, but they had a team that over 162 games loved coming to the park, loved having fun, loved each other, and that's just something none of the other teams in the NL East, I think, have. I really don't.
Yeah, and one thing too I love about Heredia, the guy just swings as hard as he can. Something's gonna happen. That guy swings so hard every time he finishes swinging, like because the camera's over the pitcher's shoulder, like you can see the back of his jersey because he swung around. He swung so hard. I love it. Absolutely love it.
All right, so we talked about the pitching matchups. Let's get into this Milwaukee Brewers lineup because truthfully, I don't watch a lot of Brewers game. I mean, I'm a huge baseball fan, but you won't catch me sitting down watching a Brewers game while the Braves are playing. So obviously their stud is Christian Yelich, but I mean, dude, the guy. Is he even healthy?
Yeah, I think he's playing. I'm still worried about Christian Yelich, man. He's still one of the upper echelon hitters in baseball when he's on, and he's not somebody that you can disregard just because he had a slow start to the season and got hurt. I mean, his average is up to 248, and I know it was well below that when he got back from injury, and so I mean, he has to have been playing at least relatively well lately. I'm about to look it up, so I might be wrong.
Well, he has a 736 OPS for the season. Not exactly Christian Yelich numbers, but that's definitely, a guy to watch. I mean, listen, I'm going to be straight up honest with you. When I looked up the Brewers stats, went through their lineup, went up their team offensive stats, I was
his OPS is over 1,000 over the past week, by the way. So,
well, I mean, yeah, so he's hot coming in. That's not great. I mean, that's definitely a guy you have to worry about. I think we both agree with that. I'm just saying, when I look at this Brewers offense, I do not see a spectacular offense. I think the Braves definitely have the edge, even without Acuna. I think it's a significant edge too, even without Acuna. I mean, they have guys, but the Brewers and I think these NL Central teams, maybe it's just because we play the Cardinals, they're like a scrappy bunch. And I know they got Colton Wong. Like, these are just guys, they're going to come up with some big hits, and they don't need a ton of them. They don't need a ton of them because their pitching is so outstanding. Good. Their starting pitching is great. Their bullpen's great. But, hey, losing Devin Williams to one of those crazy incidents, they're celebrating. He hits his hand and breaks his hand and is now probably most likely out for the NLDS for sure.
I mean, if it's anything like, he's out for a while.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
But that's huge because they have Eduardo Escobar back too. Can't forget about that. Willy Adames has been great for him since they got him from Tampa.
Yes.
He's great. He was a guy that was kind of a disappointment as a prospect, but he's got almost a 900 OPS, 20 bombs as a shortstop. Daniel Vogelbach, big guy. If he gets a hold of it, it'll go. Omar Narvaez, really, really good catcher. Avisail Garcia, really under the radar, decent player. I mean, he had 30 home runs this year. But the real question, the real X factor, the real weapon, how many home runs do you think Jace Peterson's going to hit against us?
Yeah, I mean, you just never know. Especially, I mean, he's a Braves killer. Well, he's not really, but he was a Braves killer when he was on our team, doing absolutely nothing. But yeah, just like everybody who comes against the Braves, you expect him to come up with a big hit. But listen, like I'm going to stay true to the fact that this team isn't going to score a bunch of runs on the Braves. I mean, unless they just get ridiculously hot, they're going to come up with timely hits though. Whether it's a big home run, I think they're going to play ABC baseball, something the Braves haven't done. That's the biggest issue with the Braves, man. Like we do not play ABC baseball once ever in over 162 games. You never see him play ABC baseball once. It's just like, can you just move the guy over and get him in? And in the playoffs, that matters because runs are hard to come by. And I'm telling you, this Brewers team is going to do it. They're going to do it. They're going to do it often. And if the Braves sit here and just want to play home run ball, they better hope they hit a lot of home runs because they will be out very quickly if they try to do that against this Brewers pitching staff.
Yeah, and we talk about that Marlins series last year. There was a little bit of worry inside of everybody because we're like, the Marlins, they play playoff baseball. They're stealing bases, they're bunting, they're getting cheap hits, and it's like they're so pesky and so annoying. And I'm not saying that's the Brewers. I think the Brewers are way better than last year's Marlins, but it's like they're so pesky and they're so annoying. Like they might cause a little trouble. And I think when you have the Brewers, who are an actual good team who does those things, I think it presents a lot of problems.
Yeah, I think more than anything that scared me about the Marlins, I was like, God damn it, if we lose to the Marlins, I'm going to literally – I don't know if I'd ever write it again. I wouldn't do another one of these podcasts again, I'll tell you that much. Like losing to the Marlins –
we're not going to worry about now.
If we lost to the Marlins in the playoffs last year, I would have freaked out. I mean, that would have been the most embarrassing thing ever. Thank God they went and swept them and took care of business. I mean, listen, it's going to come down to the Braves playing ABC baseball, like I just said. I think the starters are going to wash each other out unless, the Brewers just completely dominate. I just don't see that happening. The bullpens, that is iffy. That is iffy. I mean, they definitely have an edge there. I don't want to say thankfully they lost Devin Williams, but because I don't want to cheer for injuries, but thankfully they lost Devin Williams because him and Hader at the back end, I mean, with this pitching staff, that's a lot of nights. That's all they need. One of those guys
goes 6 or 7 punch in baseball.
Yeah, when one of these guys goes 6 or 7 innings, then it's just Williams, Hader. It's a wrap. You get shut out like that. It happens quick and it happens often against Milwaukee. But not having Williams, I don't think Hader. I don't want to say he hasn't gone more than 1 inning at all this year, but I don't think he's done it often. That's something that he was doing a ton. Earlier when Milwaukee was good in the playoffs, he would go like 2 or 3 innings. So. I'm kind of interested to see if they push Hader now that Devin Williams isn't healthy, since he hasn't been doing that all season. That's an interesting thing to watch.
If I remember correctly, I think it was Hader that I think he got rocked against Washington or he blew the save against Washington, which part of that was Trent Grisham, misfielding the ball in the outfield. But I think he's kind of looked human in the playoffs. I'm going to have to check because, obviously that's another thing the Braves have an advantage with is they do have that experience. No, he's 12.1 innings pitched with a 1.46 ERA. But I do think he blew that save because he does have a loss, and I think that was against Washington. But
the weird thing is that is like human. That is like human for Josh Hader. Like a 1.5 ERA is like human for Josh Hader. I mean, the guy's absolutely filthy.
He gave up 3 runs against the Nationals in 2019. Okay. I do remember that. I did remember that correctly. But the year before that, 2018, 10 innings pitched, 5 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 16 strikeouts. I mean, shutting him down.
Yes. That was what, 2014?
18.
You said?
Year before.
2018, yeah.
18.
Yeah. I was like, I didn't know he was around that long. Yeah, I think I read a stat, and I mean, you have to go to Fangraphs or something to double check it, but I think it's like off his fastball, which is just incredible. Off his fastball. Opponents are slugging, not hitting, slugging like 171. Like that is an absolutely absurd stat.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy, man. It's obviously not a stretch to say he's probably one of the 3 best relief pitchers in baseball. But you talk about not having Devin Williams. I mean, could you imagine if the Braves lost Luke Jackson right now or lost Tyler Matzik right now? Like that would be just such a huge blow. And I still think they have a superior bullpen. But, cracks in the armor.
Yeah, I mean, losing Devin Williams is an absolutely huge blow to them. So I guess, I mean, we pretty much reviewed. Is there anything else you want to say about just the Brewers in general?
Let me look at the roster. Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
I mean, they're a pretty deep team. Like from the looks of it, I mean, they have a ton of guys. They have like, 8 or 9 guys with like 9 home runs, or they have like 12 guys with 8 home runs or more, or something like that. It
Yeah,
looks
a
like they're
bunch
kind
of
of a
guys who
team
have
that
played
plays the
50.
matchups.
Yeah, a bunch of guys who played 50, 60 games. I want to see what Keston here, because he was having a bad year, and I think he got sent down. But did he not have a big postseason? No, he did not. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah. Well,
All
shows
right.
you how
Well,
much we
no,
know
I
about
guess
the
I'm
Brewers.
good.
But we're going to learn a lot about the Brewers this series. I really think, I mean, their strength, it's obvious their strength lies in their pitching. Their bullpen and their starting staff has been elite. But let's get into the end of this and the predictions, man. I mean, what are you feeling? You think the Braves get to the NLCS for the second consecutive year? And if they do, who do you have them playing?
You go first.
I mean, I'm picking the Braves confidently over the Brewers. I know a lot of teams have fallen in love with this pitching staff of theirs, and I can't blame them. It's fantastic. But I feel as confident in the Braves pitching staff as any that we've had in the postseason since this, recent era has begun. I think this is the best three that we've had. I like it too if he has to go. I think that's a lot of power, and I think the Brewers lineup, which I don't think is a very good lineup, will struggle. And I do think the Braves have the power in the lineup. I mean, you go look at their lineup compared to the Brewers, and it's like 35, 32, 30, 33, 28, 27. Like, that's what their homers are looking like. This team doesn't have a single guy hitting over 30 homers. And listen, man, sometimes it only takes one swing of the bat. I know these guys are great pitchers in Milwaukee, but we've seen Burns get hit hard by the Braves. We've seen Woodruff get hit hard by the Braves. And I just think the Braves are going to come up with some of those big hits. If it's just one of those things where they get cold, that sucks. But the Braves have been hitting the ball well lately, and I really, really, really I like them big in this series. I think it could be a 3 or 4 game series. I know that might be ridiculous, but I like them. I'm not going to say 3 because that's probably ridiculous. One of these starters is going to have the Braves number, but I like the Braves in 4, and against them. I mean, I don't want to do it. But, like, the obvious answer is the Dodgers, right? Like, the best chance of the Dodgers losing is tonight against the Cardinals. That's literally probably
It's funny
the
you
only
say
chance.
that. Go ahead. Keep going. It's funny you say that.
Because, I just don't, I don't believe in the Giants. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry if there are any Giants fans listening. Probably not. So I can say it. I don't believe they can beat the Dodgers in a 7-game, or I guess it's only a 5-game series because they'll be in the NLDS. No, but you could 5. You could get hot. I mean, the Giants played the Dodgers. I feel like I'm just trying to convince myself. So I got to go Dodgers. Hopefully they lose tonight because I do believe in Adam Wainwright and that Cardinals magic. I mean, if anybody could beat the Dodgers tonight, it's Adam Wainwright on the road, 39 years old or whatever. I can believe that. I can believe that happening.
Yeah. See, now you're encroaching on my territory. So I'll start with the Braves and Brewers. Okay, if it goes 4, I think the Braves win. If it goes 5, I think they lose. I don't think they win a 5-game series. I think they can win 3-1. I think that's reasonable. I can also see the Brewers winning 3-1, man. This is really, I think these are 2 pretty evenly matched teams as far as like talent wise. I think the Braves do have the edge because they're a little hot, and I think the Brewers have the edge because their pitching is so incredible. But I think the Braves can match them in pitching. And we've seen Dansby Swanson, we've seen Travis d'Arnaud, we've seen Adam Duvall come up clutch in the postseason. They're going to have to do that again. That's really what it's going to come down to, like you said. And if they go to the NLCS, I'm kind of starting to think it might be the Cardinals. I'm kind of starting to think it might be the Cardinals, man. If they win, okay. If the Cardinals win tonight, I'm going to say it's them. If they don't win tonight, I'm going to say it's the Dodgers, but I hope it's the Giants. At the end of the day, I hope it's the Giants because we played them pretty well this year. And I think, they're a very good baseball team, and they played really well. And obviously, they've had games where they've had our number, but we've took it to them a couple times. Ian Anderson's first start back when we were when I was at the game, and then the couple nights before, Soler hits a bomb to give the Braves the lead. Jock Peterson's game-saving catch, that was one of the big turning points of the season.
Yeah.
And so I think that the Braves are confident against them, and I think that would be the best matchup. The Dodgers, I kind of worry the Dodgers would walk all over us. But
unfortunately,
hey, that's putting the cart before the horse. So I guess we'll see after tonight.
Yeah, we'll have another episode before then. I hope it's the Cardinals. I have to say though, and I want to ask, who do you hate more, the Cardinals or the Dodgers? Because obviously I hate the Dodgers because they're so damn good. but I hate the Cardinals. After that
I hate
2019 NLDS, I hate Mike Schilt. I hate their little scrappy baseball way of playing. I just like, ew, get away
I hate
from
the
me.
I
It
hate the
works.
Cardinals maybe more than any like if we're talking like if we're excluding like nationals right or like natural rivals like the Saints, Phillies,
Yeah.
like 76ers. I hate the Cardinals more than any team in all sports.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say, I have to say I agree with you. I have to say I definitely agree with you.
Mike Schilt and his little fucking baby noodle arms. Do some curls, bro.
But I would absolutely love to get them in the NLCS and walk all over them like a dog. That would be awesome. That would be
That's
awesome.
the
That would be
thing, man.
sweet,
Is
sweet revenge. Sweet revenge. That would be so
just
beautiful.
fucking Adam Wainwright, man. This guy's never going away.
I cannot wait to watch that game tonight, man. I really cannot wait to watch Adam
Me
Wainwright
too.
toss like 8 innings of shutout baseball and win a 2-0 game.
One thing about the Dodgers too, though, that we keep, I think I just forgot until right now. Clayton Kershaw, he's done.
Yeah, he's IL. He's out for the postseason. One thing, who's on the mound for the Dodgers tonight?
Probably
Bueller?
Scherzer, if I had to guess.
Oh, Scherzer. Fuck. I forgot they had that motherfucker just for a second. He's definitely on the mound for them. He's probably going to win the Cy Young. If I had to vote, that's who I'd give it to him because he just dominated down the stretch. It's so sick that they lose Bauer and just pick up Scherzer and Trey Turner. That's why I hate That's why I hate the Dodgers. But I don't hate their players necessarily. You know.
I love Trey Turner. Trey Turner's one of my favorite players. But you look at Max Scherzer. The thing is, too, like with the Dodgers, number one, Max Scherzer is the most competitive psycho that this planet has seen since Kobe Bryant. God rest his soul. Yeah, I love him. And it's one of those things to where they've been trying to catch the Giants. They had an opportunity to catch the Giants. So they've been playing that playoff baseball like the Braves have too, and they've been in that mentality. And so that's why I think they might be able to shut down St. Louis tonight.
Yeah, I definitely think Scherzer could go out there. Dude, it's going to, man, if there was ever a day to bet the under in a playoff baseball game, this is it. I just see it as like a 1-0, 2-0, scrap it out. Because Wainwright knows who he's up against. He knows he's going to have to have his best stuff. Dude, another thing.
Wainwright just goes and throws like 7 scoreless. Yeah,
Muncy out too, right? Muncy out too. So that's a big blow. I mean, he was an MVP candidate, probably their best offensive player this year.
I think they posted their lineup. We got a little bit.
I'm pretty sure Muncy's out. That like I read something like he could be out for the playoffs, dude. Like that happened today. Like came out today. So that's interesting matchups, man. I'm not cheering for the Cardinals. I'm cheering against the Dodgers. You know, I saw someone tweet that. I was like, that's a perfect way of putting it. Hopefully we get one of those and we take care of business against the Brewers. But it's playoff baseball season, man.
Yeah, here's LA's lineup. They got Betts, Seager, Turner, Justin Turner, Will Smith, Pollock, Matt Beatty, however you say his name, Cody Bellinger, Scherzer. I mean, top to bottom, that's still, even like really like Cody Bellinger's had a terrible season, but do you really want to face him in the playoffs?
Cody Bellinger's the weirdest player in the history of baseball. He wins he won the MVP one year, and then he goes and hits like 133. Like what? What did you just do? But yeah, man, I honestly like a lot of the Dodgers players, but I can't cheer for him tonight because we got to get the best team. Got to get the best team in baseball out. That's that simple. And honestly, I'd love to play the Cardinals in the NLCS. It'd be such sweet revenge. But if we lose, that would suck. But that pretty much wraps it up.
Here's a fun question. Before we go. If the Braves do lose, who are you pulling for the rest of the way? Who you got the rest of the way?
Rays, obviously. That's an easy one.
Rays
or Giants?
I would probably say White Sox if it wasn't for Tony La Russa. But it's definitely got to be an AL team. So I'd probably go White Sox, Rays. I would probably pick the Yankees too. Oh, wait. The Yankees. No.
Yeah, the Red Sox and like the Giants have won a little too much. So I'd like to see the Rays win it. They've done such a good job. I mean, it's crazy that they traded Blake Snell, lost Glasnow. Then they trade someone. Let Charlie Morton walk, and they still have like the best rotation in baseball. It's just like
Cole Wilcox, friend of the program, go into a winning culture.
Yeah, that's true. Get Cole. Well, I mean, I guess he doesn't get a ring, but
we'll
get
him one.
Yeah,
I'll order a replica off eBay and send it to him.
Hey, that would be part of the Sports Talk ATL boost. So he'd have to shout us out to the Rays guys, and maybe we'll get a couple Rays on the program next year.
Yeah, sure. I'll hold my breath.
All right, well, that wraps us up. The 8th episode of Bloopers Brigade. Thank you guys for listening. Go Braves. Hope we're back next week. Not to recap the season, but to preview the NLCS.